Hi guys, Martin here. Bit of an impromptu video that I've put on, just as you'll have seen from the title. It's with regards to Warhammer Fantasy 9th edition and rumours and GW in general, and it's a risky video to make this because I'm going to upset some people. So I expect to lose some subscribers from this, and so be it. Yeah, I'm trying to gain a subscription level and everything, but what you'll always get from me is honesty. I say it how it is. I don't dress it up into something fancy, and I'm absolutely sick of keyboard warriors and people like that. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm allergic to stupidity. I don't know. And this is not intended to offend anybody, any other channel or anything else. It's just everybody has the right to an opinion. Everybody does. What I can't tolerate is when people make those opinions based on things that either aren't fact, i.e. rumours, or they base it on somebody else's opinion without free thinking for themselves, and they just jump on bandwagons. I can't be done with it. I really can't be done with it anymore. Now, this is my opinion, and I base this on research and fact that I can put together, and where it's rumours, I will happily say it's rumours. So first and foremost, let's start Warhammer 9th edition. Yes, it's coming. Whether you like it or not, it is happening. You don't own GW, you don't make any decisions for them. They are a business, and they are deciding what to do, and whether you like it or not does not affect GW. Of course, they want everybody to like it, but if you don't, it doesn't matter. They're going to do it anyway. So you have two choices. You either go with it or you go away. As a friend of mine from down under, and he'll know who he is if he watches the video, says, if you don't like it, off. That's as simple as that. Nobody, not GW or anybody else, is forcing you to play their games. So to all those people who sit there on the keyboards, on the forums, I don't go on forums very rarely anymore because it baffles me the amount of people with no business acumen whatsoever who sit there saying how Games Workshop should run their company. No, you're not telling people how they should run the company. You're telling the public how you would like the company ran. Yeah, if you got your hands on the company, it'd be out of business like that. Fact. Because most of you don't know what you're doing and don't know what you're talking about, but you jump on the back of something somebody else has said and you run along. Right, now, where's all this come from? I'm going to keep going off on tangents because I always do, and you can probably tell I'm a little bit upset. There was a video put up recently by Fritz 40k. I have no problem with Fritz whatsoever. I watch pretty much all of his videos and I like the content of most of them. Some of them I don't agree with, but then that's personal opinion and it's the way it is. By no means is this me bashing Fritz. Fritz, if you're watching it yourself, mate, get in touch with me. I honestly, I'm not having a go at you. I'm going to stay subscribed to you because I like what you do. And yes, you've got your own forum. I don't go to it as often as I used to, but that's just a general thing with me not going to forums. But my problem arose when I've just listened and I've left the longest YouTube comment I've ever left on your video about 9th edition. I don't think for 1 minute you've gone out of your way to scaremonger. I really don't think that. Sorry, I'm talking as if I'm talking to Fritz now. So I don't think Fritz has gone out of his way to be a scaremonger. But at the risk of quoting, I've got a Marvel t-shirt on, the risk of quoting Spider-Man, with great power comes responsibility, blah, 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 loosely connected to that is, when you've got a huge subscription base of 15, 20,000 subscribers, you are going to get a chunk of people who take what you say as gospel. Yes, you've said it's rumours in the videos, and it's not just Fritz's videos. There are quite a few videos out at the moment, and the websites are even more guilty for it. Fate 2012 or whatever it's called, 212, I can't even remember the name of the website, Bella Lost Souls, Beasts of War, all these channels and all these websites who just push all the rumours, and they'll always say, oh, take a large bag of salt with it because we don't know what it is. If you don't know what it is and it's just rumours, stop publishing them. because people who don't have a clue jump on the back of it and start saying, oh, GW are ruining fantasy, they're getting rid of it. Rubbish. It's not going anywhere. GW, as I see it, had two choices. They could either continue with a game that was originally set in the 80s and hasn't really evolved very much. I played fantasy back in 1989 through to about 92, and I got into it off the back of HeroQuest and Advanced HeroQuest. I am now about to step back into fantasy. What's that? 30 years later nearly. I'm about to step back into fantasy. And actually the game's not changed all that much. There's a few new rules, but ultimately it's the same thing. Big blobs of squads where you wheel and turn to decide on your movement, charge, get into combat, and you roll dice to play a game. That's it in a nutshell. There are a lot of passionate, loyal followers of the fantasy side of the games, and a lot of them will mock 40k, they'll call it kiddie K or whatever it might be. Fine, if you don't like 40k, you don't have to play it, and you're entitled to call it what you want. That's free speech. But Games Workshop, as I say, have got two choices. They can continue to try and please the people who have played fantasy for so long and just try to keep those people in the game. But they'll never ever will please them, because they'll always want more, and anything Games Workshop do won't appeal to everybody. Margaret Thatcher said it quite right. And I'm no conservative Tory, by the way. But Margaret Thatcher said it quite right. You can please some of the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. So every move a big, huge global company like GW makes, it's going to upset some people. And these people who play fantasy, they are a finite existence. They eventually will either walk away from the game anyway, because life will get in the way, or commitments, or they'll just tire of it and pull away, or they'll play it until they're not on the earth anymore. So either way, they're finite. You've got to attract new people into the hobby to keep the hobby going along. Now, fantasy, as I say, I'm just getting into it myself. Fantasy, you need a lot of models to get a real good army. A 1500 point army in 40k equates to 2400 points in fantasy, so I'm led to believe. There or thereabouts. From a tournament-based perspective, if you play 1500 40k, it's 2400 fantasy. So now I'm doing a horde army, so I need more models. I'm doing a night goblin army, and I'm going to have to spend £500 or £600 if I buy everything brand new just to put my army together, as opposed to putting £250, £300 into a 1500 point 40k army. So it's double the cost, and it is seen as a more difficult game to play. It is seen as played by the older generation, so it's not attracting the young kids, whereas 40k is all sort of sci-fi things with big guns shooting people, and then they've got these huge big models coming in and everything, so it's easy to attract the kids in. So what are GW going to do? Are they going to carry on for as long as they can with fantasy, still upsetting people because they're not releasing enough new stuff, or are they going to say, well, do you know what, we'll shake it up, we've given you end times, we're going to give you now the current world rather than the old world, sort of the aftermath, be it hundreds of years after of end times. But we're going to reduce all the factions. They're all still there, but they're set into groups. So ogres, dwarves, Bretonnians and Empire all into one, all the elves into one, orcs and goblins will still be on their own, whatever it might be. I can't speak factually on those things because I don't know factually about those things. This is where the rumours come in. Yes, it's as good as confirmed that there is meat on those rumours, but until they come out, we don't know exactly what they are. But let's look at it from a business point of view from GW. They've only got 40k left. The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings was fantastic. It made GW more money than they've ever made, and then nearly made them bankrupt. Because when the ball stopped rolling with Lord of the Rings, they had all these stores with 2-3 men in them. They were absolutely chocker busy. Return of the King came out. Loads of new stuff into the game, and then it stopped. And as a result, there was a lot of redundancies. That's why we've now got one-man stores, and they almost went bankrupt. Shares plummeted down to practically nothing, but they didn't. They didn't close. They've built themselves back up. They're tied in with New Line Cinema, and that is fact. They are tied in with New Line Cinema to make the models, hence why the Smaug model had to be so big, because on the third attempt they got it right, because they kept making one and New Line were like, no, it's got to be to scale, it's got to be to scale. And that's why you get Bilbo with it, to show that Smaug is now to scale from the movie perspective. And so at the end of 2015, when that license ends with New Line, yes, you would believe they will drop The Hobbit, because people aren't playing the game the way they used to play Lord of the Rings. They've got to make the molds, they've got to make the products, but they're not really getting their money's worth back on it. So that's going to go. So then they're left with 2 games, 40k and fantasy. Are they really going to just kill fantasy off? No, they're not. What it looks like they're trying to do is they're trying to make fantasy appealing to new players, while still giving the old players something to do, and trying to marry the two up. There are hundreds of new games breaking onto the scene in the wargaming world at the moment. You've got everything from X-Wing, War Machine, Drop Zone Commander, Dead Zone, Dust Tactics, Bolt Action, Flames of War, Tor Relics, Relic Knights. The list goes on and on and on. There is no shortage of games for anybody who thinks, I fancy a bit of wargaming, I'm going to get into it. What's there out there? All those games have one thing in common: low startup cost, simplified games that can be played very quickly and you can get into. You don't have to go through a big, long rule book to try and learn how to play the rules. You don't have to collect loads and loads and loads and loads of things. You can get into it very, very, very quickly. So GW have done the right thing, and they've said, well, okay, if that's what the world wants, these small games, we'll do that. We'll do a Mordheim style type game, smaller units, much easier to get into, small factions where we're only releasing this, this and this, and we can get into it. Do I agree with all their policies on the way they're going to do it, if you believe the rumours? No, I'll never agree with everything that GW do. At this point as well, I must tell you, I'm not affiliated with GW, I don't work for them, never have worked for them, and to be honest, I don't agree with a lot of things they do. But they are a company, they're a business, and that's what they're here for. So they're putting the game out there. It will increase footfall. It will get new people into the game, because the best way to get people into something is shock them. Tell people that they're not going to like something, make something, get all the rumours out there, everybody will kick up a fuss, and then they'll start playing it. Can I think of an example? Oh yeah, 7th edition 40k. Everybody moaned about it. Everybody said, no, you can't put Titans in a game. No, you can't put Super Heavies in. No, you can't do Unbound List. No, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, guess what? They did it. And it's more successful than it's ever been. Because for every one person that leaves 40k or fantasy, either a brand new player will come into it, or, as in my case, somebody who's been out of it for 20 or so years will come back into it. And you're not going to lose all the people. Let's talk about 40k again. So, 7th edition hit, everybody screaming, oh, it's only been 2 years. These are all the same people who were screaming that 6th edition was rubbish, and oh, it's too overpowered, it's too, it's this, it's too that. They just have to moan about things, because some people aren't happy unless they're complaining. And if that's you, you know who you are, guys. I'm not saying it makes you a bad person, but if all you're going to do is complain, you're never going to see the benefits of what's good around you. I said in my New Year ramble, if you focus on the negatives, you'll just always be miserable. If you try to find in every negative, if you try to find that silver line or that positive point, then actually, do you know what? You might just be happy and you might move forward and you might think, oh, actually, I don't have to spend as much money on a new army. Just run with it. So, yeah, the rumours are that Tomb Kings are going and Lizard Men are going. They're not going. You haven't got to go and throw your models in the bin. You've still got 8th edition as a rulebook. You can play that game. You can play 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, right back down to 1st edition. Play whatever you want. GW aren't going to come round to your house or to your gaming club and start smacking you over the back of the head because you're not playing their current edition of rules. Absolute tosh. Do what you want with it. Tournaments. Yes, you will get certain tournaments which will only run with new rules, but I'll guarantee you there'll be tournaments around the country which will run end time tournaments. There'll be tournaments around the country which will run old times or old world tournaments, which will be 8th edition. If the rumours are to be believed, then all the current army books are still viable. You've just got a new set of rules with new factions to appeal to new markets for a quick play, for a quick build, things like that. So then we move on to, GW just trying to cash in, and they're doing limited edition releases, and they're just making bigger models and trying to overpower the game. So what? They're a business. If you don't like their product and you don't like what they're doing, stop playing their games. It's not rocket science. If you don't like it, don't do it. Or use the auction sites, use eBay and places like that, Gumtree and wherever else you can find it. Buy old models, and again, play with the old things. I look at a couple of the guys I talk to, and I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning, but Nick Iddick Beer, I'm going to use him as an example. He doesn't buy new minis. He loves the old retro minis, and he'll get them for a really reasonable price on eBay. Sometimes you pay more if it's a super rare mini. But when you look at his armies, they look fantastic because they're all retro minis, and he's not paying full GW prices. But then at the same time, you look at me, I like my Forge World stuff, and I like my big Titans and everything like that. So yeah, I'll go out and spend the money, because if GW make it, people will buy it. And if you don't buy it, so be it. You'll buy something else from another gaming company. There's never going to be a shortage. If anything's going to kill the industry off, it will be 3D printing, but we're a good few years away from that actually impacting on a serious level. And I'm not going to talk about 3D printing on this video. But GW, they are a business. They have to make money. If all they wanted to do was make people happy, then they would give us free miniatures with White Dwarf. They would give us simpler games. They would just make everything easy for us, but then they'd be out of business. Then we'd have no Games Workshop, so we'd have no new models. And I don't care what anybody says, they are still making amongst the best miniatures in the world. Look at the detail in their plastics. People don't like fine cast. I don't have a problem with it. I prefer plastic, but I don't have a problem with the fine cast. It's easily fixable, or their customer service is that good that they will replace it without question, generally speaking. And they get on with it. Forge World's a completely different entity. I have a whole different theory on Forge World. But they make the models and people buy the models. If you don't want to, don't buy them. But to all you people who just listen to what somebody else has got to say, or you read something on a forum and you start jumping on the back of it on the hate bandwagon, why hate something that's not real? We're playing with toy soldiers, guys. Little plastic toy soldiers. And we're playing games with them. If you don't like what's happening, don't play the game. Go and play something else. Go and play Malifaux. Go and play Infinity. And then, do you know what? They might get a bit bigger and then realise, oh, we've got a fan base that we've got to keep happy. How do we expand? Because once you've bought all the Malifaux miniatures and you've got all your crews together, what are you going to buy after that? Nothing. So Malifaux then have got to do something to generate more business. Because once you bought everything they've got to make something else. That's why Games Workshop have stopped with the specialist games for now. Because Blood Bowl, you buy a team, you might buy 2 or 3 teams, but there's not a lot of outlay involved in it, and they've got no further revenue from it because it's not an ever-growing thing. Whereas a 40k army, you'll just build on and build on and build on and build on, and you'll go from a 1500 point army to a 15,000 point army to a 50,000 point army. Whatever you've got the time, money and space for, you'll just keep building with them. And there's more fluff involved, so you'll be trying new units out, you'll be trying new things. A Blood Bowl team is a team. Necromunda, very small base thing. Battlefleet Gothic, Man of War, Dreadfleet, all these, they were all good games. And you know what? They still are good games. And the models are still available on the likes of eBay and things. Who knows? Once they've stopped throwing money at The Hobbit because of the licensing that they're committed to, they might bring some specialist games back in. Look at, they've just brought Space Hulk back out. Fine, it's another limited edition run. Didn't really work this time round. I don't think it had the effect that they wanted, but they tried it. They're getting people to buy their product because they're a business. And it's just, I've said that now umpteen times. They are a business. They are in the business of making money. They are a modelling company who supply models to play games with. They give you sets of rules that you can use to play those games. But if you want to, you can make up your own rules. They supply the models and a base set of rules for you to work with. So stop getting hung up on it. Stop reading the forums and jumping on the hate wagons. If you don't like it, just leave it be. And to those of you who are putting videos up saying, oh, that's it, fantasy is dead, before you even know what the rumours are, I can't believe it from some of you. I've been watching your channels for a good while now, and the backlash that's come off these rumours, I'm surprised with the calibre of the people that have responded. I'm surprised at some of the responses. We're not kids, we're not scaremongers, but it's the same as everything. Propaganda spreads. You look at war, actual war, not little plastic soldiers on a tabletop. Look at actual war. A lot of acts of war could be avoided if people sought the truth rather than just listening to what they've heard on the news or on the TV. And everybody's guilty with it. I don't care whether it's a religious thing, Christians, Muslims, whatever it might be, or whether it's an English-German thing through historical wars. It doesn't matter what it is. Each side uses propaganda to try and fuel the fire. And that's all. If you put a video out suggesting that something's dead and you give some plausible reasons why it might be dead, I say plausible, and that's not the right word because it can't be plausible because it's based on rumours. If you've got 5,000 people watch your video, if only 10% of those people believe what you're saying, it spreads out, because then 10% of their followers listen to it, and it goes round and it becomes something it doesn't need to be. Why don't we wait till February, March, whenever it is that this is going to land, look at it and see what happens? I'll refer you to the Grey Knights Codex, because that's the most obvious one of all of them. Every Grey Knights player who had a codex written by Matt Ward were uber happy with their codex because it was so overpowered, it was this, that and the other, and they could do what they wanted with it, and they won games. I personally hated playing against Matt Ward Grey Knights, his codex version of Grey Knights. It wasn't fun. When I first started back into 40k at 6th edition, I used to, if I went up against Grey Knights, it appeared in a comical sense to me that, all right, well, Grey Knights need to roll a 2+ and they get to do what they want. But if they roll a 1, they get to re-roll it on the hope that they will get their 2+, because it just seemed like everything was in their favour. And then I stopped being childish. I looked down and thought, actually, do you know what? Rather than moaning about it, find a way to beat it. So I built lists which were more competitive. If I knew I was playing against a Grey Knights army, I would actually say I have beaten more Grey Knights armies than I have been beaten by. And the ones I was beaten by were before I understood the game and before I really understood the tactics of the game and proper list building. And then take you to the summer when we got the new codex for Grey Knights. And every Grey Knights player did exactly what we expected them to do. Oh, our army's being killed, and they all bitched and whined about it. Oh, my army's being nerfed, my army's being nerfed. It hasn't. It's just been brought a little bit more into balance with the rest of things. It is still one of the most competitive armies you can possibly take at the moment, Grey Knights, because it's that strong an army if you write it well. All it means, you've got to put a bit of thought to it, because you don't just auto win anymore. You've actually got to play tactically to win the game. Blood Angels, exactly the same. Everybody's moaning, oh, Blood Angels are being killed because we haven't got this, we haven't got that. Oh, we haven't just got assault squads as troops or whatever it is. Well, do you know what? Neither are Space Marines. They never have. Why should Blood Angels get it? You've got lots of other things going for you. You've got Death Company going for you. You've got Librarian Dreadnoughts in drop pods. Wow. It doesn't get much more powerful than that. But you know what? You don't have to take it. You've just got to think about what you're writing. Tyranids, when that came out back in January last year, everybody moaned about it. And yes, it was a weak codex compared to Eldar and Tau, which still stand as slightly the strongest codexes. Now, they've just given Tyranids a lot of love. They've given us drop pods back. They've given us Toxicreens and things like that. And yeah, they're all great units. It's made Tyranids a bit more powerful, but they're still not overpowered. There are still ways of taking them on. Monstrous creatures can still be instant deathed, so take your 6 wounds and shove them up your backside. I had a game in the club a couple of weeks ago against what's ultimately a tournament list in progress with Tyranids. I instant deathed a Swarm Lord with Khosrow Khan, and then I instant deathed a Toxicrene with a Force Weapon off my Librarian. That's 12 wounds gone in 2 swipes. It's luck that's involved in it. You can write a list with any book and make it work, or you can write a fluffy list. Right, that goes into a whole deep discussion. What my point is, and I've skated all around the point to hit on it a couple of times, is if you don't like it, do one. Don't play the game, but you don't need to sit there typing on the computer and typing in the forums and getting all angry and telling everybody, oh no, it's this, and Games Workshop are going to be out of business, and Games Workshop are failing, and Games Workshop aren't listening, and Games Workshop aren't doing that. Games Workshop is a public limited company, PLC. They have a commitment to their shareholders. They have to produce profit. They still did produce profit last year. Now, some of you will be thinking, oh yeah, well, they were down. Yeah, they didn't make as much profit as the year before. They still made profit, which when you're living in the UK, which is a country which is still heavily affected by the recession, as I'm sure is the rest of the world, to actually make 21% profit is fantastic. Most companies were trading at a loss. Add on to that the fact that the year before, 6th edition came out. So you got all those sales off Dark Vengeance that flew through. You then got some new codexes which were well out of date. Eldar Tau, Space Marines didn't quite make it out in time, I don't think, for that financial year. Chaos, things like that. There was a lot of codexes came out in time for the financial year. Then look at what they had to deal with the year after. PS4, Xbox One. We're a niche hobby. Us guys who play tabletop games are niche. Games consoles are massive. Globally huge. Interstellar. I would suggest, and this isn't fact, this is my suggestion, I would suggest that 70%, if not higher, of wargamers also play console games or PC-based games. Because if you're a gamer of one kind, you're generally a gamer of another kind. And I'm not being stereotypical, that's why I'm only saying 70-75%. But just in the same way as, must have that new army, must have that new console. So whether it be a teenage child who wants to be into 40k but says to his parents, I really, really want a PS4, I want a Chaos Army. Parents are going to buy the PS4 because it's more mainstream. It's got more longevity in it, the interest is going to hold longer in it, and it's a broader spectrum. And on face value, it doesn't seem as expensive, dropping £400 on a console and then £50 a month on a game or whatever. The older people who are buying consoles, sort of my age bracket, are sort of thinking, well, do you know what? I've actually got an army, so I'm all right with that. I do want the new console though, so I'll go and buy that new PS4 for £350, whatever it is. I actually haven't bought one, to be fair. I stopped gaming a while ago on my console, but it's going to have an adverse effect. Of course it is. It's just natural. So I could go on with this video for another hour. So to recap on it, it's the likes of say Fritz or Sustainable Centre, anyone like that. I'm not bashing you guys if you do take the time to watch it. I really am not. I like what you're doing and I want you to continue with what you're doing. Just sit back and think sometimes before you do it that people are going to take on board what you say and they're going to listen to it. It's that age-old adage of think twice before you actually say it. Don't just put it out there, because you've kind of got a duty at the subscription levels that you guys are at. You've got a duty to the people who are following you not to push them down the wrong path. Let everybody make their own choices. Give them informed decisions. You can't give anyone an informed decision off a rumour. It can't happen. Express your own opinions based on the rumours, fine, but think about them before you do them. And on that note, but again, to repeat it, if you don't like it, don't play it. Simple as that. Thanks for watching if you've got to the very end. I hope I haven't lost too many subscribers from this, but please feel free to leave comments, good, bad, argumentative. Don't be a dick and just start writing in the comments underneath that, oh, you're just pro GW, you're a fanboy. I'm far from it. I've got a lot of negativity towards Games Workshop. With other things, they're not for this video. They're a company. They're there to make money. Don't forget that. At that note, guys, before I carry on, I'm going to sign out, so I shall see you later on, and thanks for watching. See you now.